Hello, everybody. So, this is still an episode about Confucius, the sage as political brand, how China turned Confucius into official wisdom. Confucius became something much larger, not just a teacher, not just a philosophy, not just a man with good clothes. He became a political brand, a logo for order, a moral stamp, a face that made power look civilized, a sword can make people obey, but a sage can make obedience look beautiful. That's a strange story of Confucius. He couldn't rule a state while he was alive, but after his death, he ruled the classroom. Confucius was not born as a state logo or powerful. He was not a conqueror. He was not sitting on a dragon throne saying, "One day I'll become East Asia's most famous moral operating system." He was born in the state of Lu, in a world where the old Zhou order was falling apart. The original Confucius was not selling inspirational war art. He was responding to disorder. He looked at the broken world and believed that ritual, moral cultivation, proper names, family roles, and humane rule could repair it. He was not asking the modern question, "Can I become my authentic self?" He was asking an older question, "How can I collapsing world become order again?" That's why Confucius is interesting. He was not shallow, he was not just conservative in the boring sense. He was a man standing inside civilizational breakdown, trying to restore moral architecture. But the question is, a philosophy born to repair chaos can later become a technology for controlling people. The man becomes a text. The first transformation is simple. A living man becomes a text. Confucius didn't leave behind a personal YouTube channel, no podcast, no Substack, no Confucius official Instagram page with verified blue check. What we have are transmitted saying, conversation, fragments, memories, and later editor traditions. The Confucius related material were fluid and diverse before the analects text was fixed around the 2nd century BCE. The analect itself was likely a selection from a wider body of saying material. That's already fascinating, because once a person becomes a text, someone has to decide which saying matter, which story survive, which version becomes official, which Confucius gets remembered. The gentle teacher, the ritual expert, the political moralist, the defender of hierarchy, the critic of bad rulers, the man of uncertainty, the man of order. History doesn't simply remember. History edit, and every edit is an act of power. A living thinker is messy. A classic is already curated. The empire discovered a useful philosophy. Now comes a historical turn. Confucius died, century passed. China moved through war, unification, collapse, and reorganization. The Qin dynasty tried to unify through law, punishment, standardization, and central control. But fear alone is expensive. A state can rule bodies with punishment, but if you want to last, it must rule imagination. You must convince people that power is not just strong. Power is moral, civilized, natural, fatherly. This is where Confucius becomes useful. The emerging emperor state seized upon Confucius as a vehicle for legitimacy and social control. The after Qin persecution of Confucians, Han emperors and ministers used Confucius to legitimate rule and control subjects. You also, well, in 136 BCE, the five classics associated with Confucius became the basis for imperial civil service examination. The sentence is the whole episode. The empire didn't adopt Confucius because he loved philosophy. It adopted Confucius because philosophy made power look moral. That's what happens when a thinker becomes a brand. The sword is still there, the bureaucracy is still there, taxes are still there, punishment is still there, but now power wears a scholar's robe. A sword can force obedience. A sage can make obedience feel civilized. How to turn a thinker into a political brand. So it does five things. First, select. You don't use the whole thinker. It would be dangerous. Real thinkers are complicated. They contradict themselves. They ask questions. They have doubts. They contain convenient parts. So the state select useful Confucius. The Confucius of order, ritual, and hierarchy. The Confucius who make family, state, and moral discipline speak the same language. Second, simplify. A person becomes slogan. Filial piety, loyalty, harmony, respect the teacher, know your place, don't be chaotic. That's how branding works. Nike doesn't give you a dissertation on athletics. It says just do it. The empire doesn't give you all of Confucius. It gives you the Confucius you can print on the cell. Third, sanctify. Build temple, create ritual, offer sacrifices, give title, turn memory into ceremony. When a thinker enters the temple, he is no longer only a thinker. He becomes an ancestor of authority. Confucian temples and temples of state count as part of the official religious and political structures of imperial China. They were listed by educators for standardization. Standardize. Put the text in school, put them in examination, put them in official learning. Make advancement depend on mastering approved interpretation. The civil service examination system disseminated the Confucian worldview through traditional Chinese society, and the imperial state directly upheld the Confucian tradition through education and examination. Then fifth, distribute through village schools, family instruction, official rituals, through ancestral halls, through teachers, through bureaucrats. Through every child told that education means becoming morally acceptable to the system. At the point, Confucius is no longer only a man, he is infrastructure. The state did not merely remember Confucius, it installed him. In modern countries, school is supposed to produce citizen workers, professionals, maybe well-rounded individuals, and occasionally people who still remember algebra after graduation, which is rare and beautiful. But in Imperial China, education was also a moral channel into the state. A boy learned characters, classics, commentaries, essays, examination. If he was successful, he could enter the bureaucracy. The student didn't only ask, "Are you intelligent?" He asked, Can your intelligence be disciplined by the classics? Can your ambition be writing in the official style? Can your mind pass through the approved gate? The system was based on Confucian classic and recognized commentaries, and even village school curriculum was shaped by this larger examination culture. That's why Confucius became more powerful dead than alive. Alive, he needed a ruler to listen, dead, he entered the exam. Alive, he argued, dead, he was memorized. Alive, he was one teacher among competing traditions. Dead, he became the language of official success. A living teacher can be ignored, an exam test can't. The sage stops being dangerous. A dangerous thinker asks questions, an official sage supplies answer. The living Confucius was involved with question: what is humane rule? What is ritual? What makes a ruler legitimate? What does it mean to be a good person in a broken world? But the official Confucius becomes something different. He becomes a stamp of approval, a moral law logo, a way of saying this is civilized, proper, this is tradition, this is how things have always been. Now, Confucianism was not one simple thing. It produced serious moral criticism. Some Confucian scholars rebuked rulers. Some risked their career to speak truth to power. Some believed deeply that ruler must be humane and trustworthy. So, Confucius' thought was concerned with ritual, virtue, politics, family, and official context. Um, the trustworthiness was central to good government, according to his analysts. So the point is not Confucianism equals blind obedience. It's once Confucius becomes official wisdom, his moral language becomes useful by power. A ruler can be criticized in the name of Confucius, but a ruler can also hide behind Confucius. A teacher can cultivate students through Confucius, but a teacher can also silence students through Confucius. A family can teach responsibility through it, but a family can also demand submission through it. That's what makes him powerful and dangerous. The problem is not Confucius had no moral power. It's a moral power exactly what political power wanted from him. The brand is cleaner than the man. A political brand must be clean. It can't be too complicated. You can't wake up at 3 a.m. and say, maybe I was wrong. You can't doubt. You can't embarrass the institution. You can't ask too many questions. That's why every state prefers a dead sage to a living thinker. The dead sage doesn't interrupt ceremonies, or post inconvenient essays, or ask why the emperor is corrupt. He doesn't tell the minister, actually, you misunderstood me. He just sits there in bronze, in wood, in textbooks, in school slogans, very respectable, quiet, and useful. That's a tragedy of political branding. The man becomes too smooth, too safe, and ceremonial. A real human being becomes public furniture. A man can be debated. A brand is designed to be obeyed. Cross-cultural mirror. This is not only Chinese. Every civilization does this. Socrates annoyed Athens. Now he's a poster of critical thinking, often used by institutions that would probably ask him to stop disrupting the meeting. Jesus was executed by the empire. Later, the empire carried courses into war. Buddha spoke of detachment. Later, Buddhist institutions could own wells, temples, and political influence. Marx criticized ideology, state power, and capital. Later, his face appeared on all the party states. Adam Smith read about moral sentiments as well as markets. Later, he was compressed into a mascot for free market. Please don't regulate me. So the global pattern is power loves dead thinker. Dead thinker are easier to quote. They don't correct your interpretation. They don't object to being placed on banners. They don't say, please stop using me to sell things I never made. Every civilization kills its prophets twice. First by rejecting them, then by turning them into symbols. Confucius as China's cultural interface. The brand worked because it became an interface, like an application icon. You tap it and an entire system opens. Confucius means family, order, ritual, hierarchy, self cultivation, respect, ancestor, official morality, civilization. That's what a good brand does. It compresses complexity into recognition. You see the Apple logo, design. You see the McDonald's arch chart who thought and questionable life choices at 1 a.m. You see Confucius in Emperor China order. The empire didn't need people to understand every debate in the history of Confucian philosophy. It needed them to feel the brand, to recognize the posture, accept the emotional grammar, respect the father, teacher, ruler, and order. And most importantly, don't imagine yourself outside of it. A successful political brand doesn't force you to think. It teaches you what to feel before thinking begins. The modern return of Confucius. A story that doesn't end with the empire. After 1911, the last imperial dynasty fell. The old examination system had already been abolished. Confucius' official position seemed to collapse with the old order. But symbols rarely die. They wait, they return when power needs them again. So after the fall of the last imperial government, Confucius fell from state-imposed grandeur, but was later promoted in different ways by nationalist regions and after periods of vilification, rehabilitated by the communist regime and other culturally Chinese governments. So Confucius can be attacked as feudal, then revived as tradition, condemned as backward, then marketed as culture, destroyed as old China, then restored as soft power. That's how brand works. They survive rebranding. The same symbol could be used by conservatives, nationalists, educators, governments, diaspora, communities, tourists, and people who just want to code about discipline for LinkedIn. The Confucius become available, that's his power, and also his danger. A useful symbol can survive almost any region because every region finds a use for it. So was Confucius preserved or domesticated? Did China preserve Confucius or domesticate him? Preservation means we keep the complexity, question, tension, and discomfort. We let the thinker challenge us. Domestication means we keep the statue, we keep the useful slogans, we keep the parts that make order look beautiful. We remove the parts that make power uncomfortable. That's the difference between reading a thinker and using a thinker. Reading him is dangerous, using him is convenient. And most states prefer convenience. Power preserve the version of the thinker that power can survive. The tragedy of Confucius is not that he was remembered, it's he was made too useful. A living thinker is dangerous because he asked questions. An official sage is safe because he supplies answers. This is not a Chinese story only. Every civilization does this. It turns prophets into monuments, philosophers into slogans, rebels into national holidays, critics into classroom posters. The question is not should we remember a great thinker? We should. It's what exactly are we remembering? The thought, the danger, the question, or the only version that power can safely use? Confucius, the man, is complicated. Confucius, the brain, is cleaner. That's why the brain is more dangerous, because the complicated man can be debated. A political brain is designed to end debate, so when you statue of sage, ask, is this memory or management? Is this wisdom or branding? Is this a thinker still speaking or a logo telling everyone to be quiet? Confucius couldn't rule a state while he was alive, but after his death, he ruled the classroom. And maybe that's the most powerful empire of all. Not the empire that conquers your line, but the empire that teaches you which voices are allowed to sound like wisdom. Let me know if you have any question about this series. I would like to answer all the question and hope to make you understand more about the underlying logic, the confusion event, the most important thing, culture, and it's a I think it's a priority and it couldn't be underestimated this part. So just let me know. And welcome to subscribe. I will keep updating my channel by posting content from time to time. Thank you so much.